Big Boar Barbecue presents Seven Rivers Racing on KQEG TV with Dan the Voice Dykman, Billy Doc Niles, and Paul the Statman Riker. Brought to you by Big Boar Barbecue, Highway 16 West Salem, in La Crosse on 3rd Street downtown and George and Gillette Street. Big Boar Barbecue, now that's a mouthful. By Carey Heating and Air Conditioning, your residential specialist, serving the La Crosse area since 1929. Carey Heating and Air Conditioning.
All right, fans, welcome in another big recap week of racing coming away from La Crosse and Tomah. We got a lot of guests coming into the program today as well, which is being brought to you by Big Boar Barbecue. That's Doc, that's Penguin, who's going after the tiny notation today. I'm Radio Man Dan, and a lot of great sponsors are going to help us kickstart a lot of video recaps.
Okay, of course, Big Boar Barbecue, our title sponsor. Thank you very much. Best in La Crosse County. Carey Heating and Air Conditioning. It's hot outside. Get that air conditioner checked out. Fansarena.com. Thank you very much. J&L Collectibles and NorthstarCustoms.com. Thank you all for being part of the 2020 season.
So hot that Billy didn't even button his shirt all the way up today. The man is steaming. Look at that. He is just roasting in there. We're going to need some Carey Heating and Air Conditioning assistance on Billy Doc Niles here in a moment.
You saw nothing.
Matt Henderson, last weekend, let's just roll the tape right now. Last couple of laps of our first of two late model features last week at the Crosse Speedway. Good battle with Mike Hager, starting things off on the point for this one. And Nick Clements, after coming off that wreck from a couple of weeks ago, has his car back in tune. But this night was going to belong to Matt Henderson. I'll tell you what, once he got to the outside rail, past Hager, who at the point, Clements was all over his rear end the entire time. But Matt knew not only had he not won in 3 years, but he was running for the Schmaltz family, who had just lost a family member. Matter of fact, I think it was that morning they had the funeral. Black stripe on the car. Checkered flag was more important for Matt Henderson. And, man, I tell you, after the rocky start, Bill, he finally got that win.
Yeah, after 3 years, how many motors, the accidents at the beginning of this year, it felt really good for him. Second 20-lap feature, a little mix-up at the beginning of this one. That vaults Mike Carlson out to the lead. He will run and hide from this one. He'll bring Jeremy Wagner along with him at the beginning. Wagner starts to fall back, not going to catch him. Mike Carlson, first win in, what, about 2 or 3 years for him also, so congratulations to Mike.
Sportsmen, we're back out, Paulie.
Yes, Sam Niles got out to a pretty good lead here, but then along came Denny Schott to try to challenge him, but as you see here in the last couple of laps, Sam was able to hold on and end up claiming his first Sportsman win of the season. Rick
Coppernall, Denny Schott, and Dave Edwards, all the modifieds, got DQ'd from going over the top of the breakout rule. Denny kind of laughed at it and said, I'm a newbie here, but I'm definitely bringing my modified back out. It was great to see them out there.
That's good news.
Hobby stock feature was Joe Prusick getting around Austin Schott. He was running a favorable race himself. Got the lead just past the halfway mark. He powers over the winner's circle area for his first ever win at the La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway. Congrats to the Red 66. Minivans, your favorite.
Oh, my favorite class here. Zach Leaps is going to jump out to the lead, and along comes Taxi True Jr. He's going to make this one interesting in the last couple laps. He'll get alongside of Leaps a couple of times. Not going to happen. Leaps captures his first minivan feature.
He's on the program today, too, to talk more about that win. Upper Midwest Vintage Racing Series, Paul.
Oh, they always put on a good show. Larry Bolster surged by Bob Lee 3 laps in, but then in the late going, he had to battle that fast red Mustang of Jim Kulseth. But Larry Bolster, as he's known, held on to claim the victory.
Bang.
And of course, the damage was not as bad as we thought on the Johnny Gilbertson Super America number 88 throwback.
That was good news.
Tomah Sparta Speedway we go. Midwest Dash Series was back out. A couple of familiar names they used to run when the series was there. Pat Tickey, the last Dash champion under the tutelage of Greg Oliver. This night, as you're going to see, belonged to Steve Rozek. Pulled that Saab right out of the weeds. I think all they did was change the radiator on that thing from last year. He came back out and he gets the win. Sportsman battling again.
Sportsman Mike Krieger Jr. would jump out to a lead, and here comes Bill Schott. Schott works him on the outside, which is tough to do in this class. He'll get around Krieger. He'll walk away. Schott claims the feature victory.
Another big first win coming up, Hobby Stocks.
Yes, Alex Rude led much of the way, but then there was a little incident. He got tangled up with someone else, but that other driver admitted fault. Alex got the lead back and had to get held off Jason Bolster down the stretch to claim his first ever win.
Hornets had a fantastic night at the Tomah Sparta Speedway. Sammy Linehan, Amelia Marshall, Scott Malem, Taylor Dawson all battling each other back and forth for about the first one, almost 12 laps. Man, Sammy Linehan almost got that race win. Here comes Taylor Dawson on the outside, and he puts her back into second, but a formidable race for both of them. And congrats to Taylor Dawson. 6 shooters were back out.
Yes, Dustin McCracken got out to a good lead, but then comes you-know-who, Dan Fry and Matt Moore to try to challenge, but they tried all they could to try to get around Dustin, but he was able to hold off both of them to claim the victory.
No free fireball.
Yeah, how often can you hold off both Dan Fry and Matt Moore?
Not very.
No.
But we've said, though, Dustin McCracken, we've seen it at both Lacrosse and Tomah.
He's got some speed in that.
Yeah, he does.
He's finally getting used to that car this year, and the more he does that, I think the more races he's going to have, the more chances he's going to have to hold off the likes of Fry and Moore.
I said to you at the beginning of the year, one of their first features, I thought, wow, that 25 car is fast. I mean, he had the straightaway speed, just had to get used to the corners, and now you see with his first feature victory, he's someone to contend with now.
You need to go on the Tomah Sparta Speedway Facebook page too. By the way, the Hobby Stock Challenge, the inaugural Hobby Stock dance, I guess you're going to call it. It's coming up here in
Hobby
August.
Fest.
Hobby Fest.
Yes.
Go on the Tomah Sparta Speedway Facebook page. It was released on Wednesday on what exactly the rules are going to look like and how big of a deal that's going to be. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. Also, Mid-American Stock Car Series are coming up at Tomah here in the next couple of weeks, as is the Tim Meyer Memorial. Talking about big events, how about the Lacrosse Speedway? Not only a big event this weekend, but the Trailer Race of
Destruction next week. That's going to be a big one. Get there early. Stay hydrated, by the way, folks. It's it's warm out, so
steamy weekend coming.
Yep.
All right, let's get you set for all of our interviews coming up. Rest of the program. Period. No Limitz Racing next. KQEG TV.
You don't have to fly to Kansas City to get great barbecue.
Hear that? That's the sound of breakfast. Jerry here, and breakfast is back at Big Boar Barbecue. Come join us Monday through Friday, serving breakfast from 5:30 to 11. Pancakes, waffles, biscuits, and gravy. And yes, eggs too, any way you want them. Choose from 3 different hashes made fresh to order. Pulled pork, brisket, or boudin. Yes, sir, breakfast is back at Big Boar Barbecue, and it's a mouthful.
American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning is built to a higher standard, so you can focus on the problems in your life that really actually matter. Like figuring out which remote turns the TV on, or the smell in the vegetable crisper that in no way can be vegetables, or finding your phone when you leave it on vibrate. Whatever you're worrying about, it won't be this. American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, built to a higher standard.
Welcome back, race fans. Severus Racing KQEG TV, presented by Big Boar Barbecue. We are going to do a little Leapsh racing here, Billy Doc Niles, in segment number 2, and not just 1, but 2, but we have to have 3 to make the pyramid.
Yep, Mom's got to keep these 2 in line here, so she's back here to swat them upside the head.
That'd be Wendy Leapsh, Alex Leapsh, and Zach Leapsh. Let's look at the point standings. So they run 6 shooters at Lacrosse and Tomah, and this guy just runs them wherever they allow them to run. He's at 4 different tracks this year. Lacrosse, Zach is running 5th in points. Alex is running 8th in points. Zach's running 3rd in minivans, coming off a big win that you're going to see here on KQEG TV when we replay Nights of Thunder on Thursday and Sunday.
And we kind of mentioned it in the last segment there real quick.
Man, you guys like 6-cylinder racing, and gals.
Yes.
It's cheap, it's fun.
Now, how cheap? We did this on the radio show. These guys are on the radio show this week on Saturday at noon. When you say cheap, obviously you guys you're in the towing business.
Oh yeah, yep.
He is.
So you've been to a lot of junkyards. Can you really find a 6-cylinder?
Well, the one I'm running, which is probably the best car I've had, is I got it for free. Some guy just said get it out of my yard. So went over there, took it. And then he offered me a $100 parts car that was identical, so I took that. There was a bunch of bad stuff on it, so that one didn't get turned into a race car. Just bought her a car this weekend from John Burbach. And his needs to be a street car.
Yeah, mine was my street car for 3 years before my girlfriend hit black ice one night, and
I decided to turn it into a race car instead of fixing it.
So, speaking of that car hitting things, talk about bouncing off the tires at the beginning of the year, and that car just seemed to get faster after that.
Well, hitting the tires are never fun. You go airborne and you don't know what's going on, and I didn't know if I should keep going, but I decided to go a couple laps, and it just kept getting faster after that.
Of course, Mr. Leap's coming off of his first ever win behind the wheel of a minivan last weekend, and that had to have been a blast.
Oh, it was fun. I love running the minivan.
You know, you talked on the radio show about this, and you made a pretty good point. The perception of these minivans is they're so top-heavy they wouldn't get around the corners.
They're not as top-heavy as you think. You put them where you want them, and they won't roll over. I spun out a couple weeks ago, and I thought I was going over, but you just don't go over.
You know, that's a good point. I don't think we have had a minivan roll over since they've been out there.
We've had more street stock slip over than minivans.
With your penchant for saying things that didn't happen, knock on
Here
wood,
it comes.
somebody. There we go, thank you.
Kevin Ramsel says #blame Diker, and it's the Diker jinx. Well, that's usually when they're racing, though. Right in the middle of me saying, that's why I didn't say anything nice about him Saturday night in the minivan, because as soon as I do, you hit the tires, water pump breaks, radiator busts, you end up in turn. Something happens with drivers when I mention something. You know, when Wendy Leach flipped over on the top in the last year she ran Hornets, I think I was saying something to you about that night, so I think you got the Diker karma.
Wonderful.
So, Mom runs with the guys. Did a couple times last year and has one so far this year. And what is it like racing against your sons?
Well, way back when I started, I actually raced with my mom and Women in Wheels, so it's a whole interesting circle. Yeah, now that I'm racing with them, I get to see what she felt, and you know, do you hit them? Do you not? You know, do you try and block for them? Do you just go for it? There's all kinds of different feelings on the track when you're out there, and it's all an interesting game.
So you've raced with Mom, now you've raced with your sons. How much fun is that?
It's a blast.
You know?
My mom got me into it, and you know, then the boys got into it because they grew up around it, and I'm so glad they've done what they've done.
Now I want to ask Zach the same question I asked him on the radio show, and he answered before I even got it out of the whole question out of my mouth. So your mom's leading the race. There's 2 to go. You and your brother Alex are right behind her. Do you use the chrome horn?
She's going right around. I'm going right.
Alex, you've been racing around the state a lot this year.
Yeah, we were having fun at lacrosse, and we didn't. I mean, car was fun, and my buddy called me up one Sunday morning, and he's like, "Let's go racing." I'm like, "I don't think there's anywhere that races," and got on the internet, and we found out Slinger runs on Sundays. So we drove up there. We showed up late, went out for practice, and that was honestly the most fun I've had on a track. That track is crazy. And we just went and ended up starting up front in the feature, and we won. First time ever being there.
Nice.
Hence this nice little piece of hardware right there.
And then on 4th of July weekend, on Thursday night, we raced at lacrosse. Friday night, we raced in the Wisconsin Dells, won a heat race there. Tomah, we didn't win there. And then Saturday, we raced in the Dells, and we won a heat race there.
Man.
And we just got a heat race last weekend.
We got shorter segments today so we can get all of No Limitz Racing on. So, Alex, we'll start with you. Sponsors for 2020.
Erdman's Auto Body, Boondocks Repair, Auto Center Towing, Crosse Signs for the awesome paint job on the car, and Zach, Grandma and Grandpa, and Mom and Dad.
And Zach?
I have River City Ready Mix, Auto Center Towing, J&L Collectibles, CV Shop, and Mom and Grandma and Grandpa.
Wendy?
Pretty much these guys. They take care of the car.
And of course,
I pay for it, but
Grandma and Grandpa is Ruth Ann. She loves when I call her that.
She does.
Ruth Ann Inglet and Bill Inglet. Of course, Inglets, and you guys have been racing so many years at the Speedway. It's just great to have a large family like that out there. And that big of a presence. Look at my daughter's trying to call me right now. Not going to happen. We're doing a TV show. Anyways, that's going to do it for Leap's Racing. We're part of No Limitz Motorsports. We're going to bring in 2 more drivers with No Limitz that have been out there quite a many years, both behind the wall and on the racetrack. And that's going to be John Burbach and Steve Brozda coming up next on 7 Rivers Racing.
You don't have to fly to Kansas City to get great barbecue.
Hear that? That's the sound of breakfast. Jerry here, and breakfast is back at Big Boar Barbecue. Come join us Monday through Friday, serving breakfast from 5:30 to 11. Pancakes, waffles, biscuits, and gravy. And yes, eggs too, any way you want them. Choose from 3 different hashes made fresh to order: pulled pork, brisket, or boudin. Yes, sir, breakfast is back at Big Boar Barbecue, and it's a mouthful.
Welcome back, race fans. Seven Rivers Racing KQEG TV, presented by Big Boar Barbecue. Our show with No Limitz Racing continues. Billy Doc, we've had at least one representative from No Limitz Motorsports on for the past 7 straight seasons.
And they all invaded today. I mean, we couldn't get them on at separate times during the season. Boom, here they are all. Here's 2 more right now. So that's, I think we're only missing Cheeto, aren't we?
Well, no, I don't think he's part of seven.
Cheeto's not part of.
No, he's not a part of No Limitz this year. He's got Six Pack Racing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
This guy we know, that's a
Cheetos.
newcomer. He's an older guy, but he's still a newcomer. So we're going to introduce you to Steve Brosnan. Steve, obviously, if you recognize the name, and I have a lot of people tell me too, go, man, I know that name from someplace. Well, that's because when John Aaron used to race for as long as I was at lacrosse, I always mentioned you because you were always his #1 sponsor.
Yeah.
Which was really cool for him to say.
He was always really nice about that stuff. He always told people that I was the secret behind him, but I think he was a really good driver too.
And then the guy sitting next to Steve is, I want to say, a newcomer to the 6 cylinders this year. He drives the number 91, and that would be Pete Thompson. Pete, good to have you in the program.
Thanks, glad to be here.
Are you having fun?
Oh, I'm having a time of my life.
How'd you get mixed up with these guys?
I was going to ask him that too.
I live about a mile up the road from Steve, and a few beers later.
There it is. Good stories don't start with a salad.
Yeah.
They don't end with it either.
No.
Well, in my neck of the woods, they could.
In your story, there never is a salad.
Pete, would you ever have envisioned that you would be racing, #1, #2, racing 6 cylinders at the Crosse Speedway?
No, this is like a childhood dream come true. And I get it why John always gave Steve credit, because, I mean, I'm driving Steve's car, he set it up, I just got into it, and he said, go fast, don't worry about hurting it.
Judging by the smile on your face, it looks like you're having fun, too.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
So you're setting up the cars for the both of you. I mean, do you give him much instruction rather than just turn left?
I asked him to give me feedback because John was really good at feedback. He could tell me exactly what he needed. And once he got me feedback, we just started going faster.
Speaking of going faster, Steve, one thing I've noticed a big difference between last year to this year is you are a lot faster.
Oh, most definitely.
Quick time, a heat win. It's I think I'm just getting used to the car to the point that I can go fast. 'Cause it was truly terrifying that first couple times.
And I mean, spending that many years behind the wall watching somebody else race, they can tell you what's going on, but until you're inside the car yourself, it's a whole different story.
The feedback issue is especially because I'm used to getting really good feedback. I'm not used to figuring out what that is.
So, is this your first year of racing? Have you raced before?
Just a tiny little bit in Wyoming. I had a good friend of mine that raced out in Wyoming, and I hung around and drove the car a couple times, but nothing real.
So you got in the car for the first time. What were your emotions like?
I was just so excited. I had no idea what to expect or what the car was going to do. It was a brand new car, never been on the track, and I pretty much just hung on. I smiled the whole night.
And they toss you into a division where you can see upwards of 25 to 30 in a feature.
Yeah, and that's getting tougher now. Actually, the first night wasn't so bad. Really, I was just all hyped up, and now we timed in really quick last week. Ended up in the fast heat, and it was like a freight train watching go by me.
Steve had mentioned earlier, he told you just go out and don't worry about wrecking it, and it looks, you've been pretty aggressive out there. You've been making some moves.
I've been trying.
Steve, it's got to feel cool though. Second year now, I think this is. You've been running by yourself with the street stocks, just to watch not only this division grow, but No Limitz Motorsports continue to grow as well.
Oh yeah, it's amazing how much it's come along since 2014. There's so many cars and so much enthusiasm for the division.
Minivans in your future?
I've thought about it, but I haven't done it.
Now, obviously, Pete, if you're new to the 6-cylinders, have you ever seen minivans run in Wyoming?
No, we didn't have minivans, I don't think. I think it's before those.
Boys, we got about a minute to go here in the segment. Steve, what do you got for sponsors?
It's so short. It's Rustic Haven Bar and Grill and Bauer Built, and then my own operation, the SBR.
And what do you have on your car?
Pretty much SBR or No Limitz Racing.
Yeah.
That's all you need. As long as you're having fun, that's all you need.
It's working out.
Yeah.
A part of No Limitz Motorsports. Again, Steve has been a part of No Limitz, but he was always behind the scenes working on John Aaron's car. But it's really good to have him out racing and like Billy had mentioned, getting a lot faster and really starting to learn the action track quarter mile. When we come back, one of the innovators, or the innovator of No Limitz Motorsports, Smalls, is going to join us right here on the set, KQEG TV.
You don't have to fly to Kansas City to get great barbecue.
Hear that? That's the sound of breakfast. Jerry here, and breakfast is back at Big Boar Barbecue. Come join us Monday through Friday, serving breakfast from 5:30 to 11. Pancakes, waffles, biscuits, and gravy. And yes, eggs too, any way you want them. Choose from 3 different hashes made fresh to order: pulled pork, brisket, or boudin. Yes, sir, breakfast is back at Big Boar Barbecue, and it's a mouthful.
American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning is built to a higher standard, so you can focus on the problems in your life that really actually matter. Like figuring out which remote turns the TV on, or the smell in the vegetable crisper that in no way can be vegetables, or finding your phone when you leave it on vibrate. Whatever you're worrying about, it won't be this. American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, built to a higher standard.
Welcome back, Seven Rivers Racing, KQEG TV, brought to you by Big Boar Barbecue. Folks, if you can see the stuff that goes on off camera during commercials, he's somehow shrunk. So what we're going to do while we interview my good friend John Burbach here is when Paul talks, we're going to wind him up like a jack-in-the-box, and the music's going to sound like what, Bill? Okay. And then once he pops out of the box, John, you're going to go. Boing! There it is.
Oh, God.
Paul the Penguin, you can, matter of fact, after the program, we're going to have Paul the Penguin pop-ups. We'll give you the address where to send your check money to.
Let the memes fly.
Oh my goodness. John Burbach, good friend of the program, has been on all 7 years that we've had. Well, we've been on the air for 10 years, but all 7 of the street stocks at Crosse Speedway, No Limitz Motorsports. And man, I tell you what, leaps and bounds. When I think about the street stocks, that's the 2 things I can think of are where you guys have taken this leaps and bounds.
Well, yes, this being the 7th season, the first season it was Chuck said, hey, here's some cars, go have some fun. So we all pretty much had, they were all track cars.
Weren't they?
Yeah, they were all track cars.
That's right.
It started mainly with Dodge Intrepids, really. And now we've progressed to the point where you got cars that are vinyled, Alex's car is hand-painted. Then you have,
by the way.
You have Zach's car that's been on fire, been on the tires, but still driving somehow.
Now it looks like a tiger.
I didn't use the word cattywampus.
That's
sorry.
Yeah, cattywampus.
But you know, we talked a long time ago on the deck at the Crosse Speedway. I think it was after John Aaron won his 2nd championship. Like, man, you guys are taking ownership of this class right here. Chuck just kind of stepped back and thought, hey, if you guys want to take off, and look where it is now. It would not be abnormal, folks, if you've never been out at Crosse Speedway to see 30 of them in a feature.
Oh, every night. I mean, I think the least amount of cars I've seen is 23.
Damn.
And there was it last season or 2 seasons ago? I think there was one night we had over 40 cars.
Oh, I remember that night, yeah. Because that was like B feature, C feature, anybody?
Yeah, it was a little crazy.
Because I think that night was the very first night we had minivans. We had over 10. Remember last year, did we have 15 to 18 minivans the night you guys had like 30? Because almost all the vans
something like that, yeah.
Because they're all 6-cylinder.
Yeah, well, most of them.
Well, true. There goes my stomach making that really odd noise again. Goodness gracious. didn't have enough lunch today.
So I
Can you believe that?
Go get a salad.
I could use one.
My biggest question is, what's up with the truck?
The Trailblazer's just fun. Well,
Why the Trailblazer?
The biggest thing is so over the last 6 seasons, I've got 2 second place overall, I've got 2 third place, then I've got a 9th and a 10th. Everyone kept telling me last season the only reason I took 2nd overall is because of the Acura. It's all the Acura. It's all the car. It's not the driver.
So you're out to prove a point.
Well, the Trailblazer's actually my younger brother's.
Okay.
It was mine. I bought it like 7 years ago, and then I sold it to him a year later. He's driven it, and then he actually got hit in it. The other person's insurance company totaled it out. I said, well, I want to keep it because it still ran and drove.
Yeah.
So they cut us a check, and I was like, that's a 6-cylinder. That's going to be fun. So then the Trailblazer was born.
Nice.
See, you have so many of these that are sitting here.
How many of them are novelty trophies?
All 4 of those are novelty from this year.
I don't know.
What's more fun, though, novelty or racing? 6 cylinders.
Oh, that's a tough question. It's about a horse apiece. Because the 6 cylinders, I mean, this is 7 seasons now. We started the division. We've grown it. And it's been a blast. And the novelty, I mean, what's not to love about novelty? I mean, you got...
I like contact drags.
The contact drags. You got the reverse race. That was interesting, especially the Trailblazer, which I kept hitting the rev limiter and couldn't go any faster than 25 miles an hour. That was fun. I had an advantage with that, though. My drive wheels weren't my steering wheels. I turned that rear-wheel drive truck into a front-wheel drive, rear steer. So if I could have been going a little bit faster, I'd have been good.
Minivans. We got about maybe 2 minutes left in this segment right here. Talk about how fun minivans are.
Well, minivans are a blast if I can get my transmission to work.
Yeah, you've got it. Bill brought that up a couple weeks ago that you're not the John Burbach racer that we've seen in the past, but it's not
you should have been in the van. You should have been in the van the last feature. After 7 laps, it started misfiring, and I was literally dropping it from neutral into first gear with the pedal to the floor, getting everything I could out of it. So you should have been in the car. That would have been way more interesting than watching go around the track.
We'll have to learn how to drive.
And we got about a minute left, John. Let's give some love to the sponsors supporting you in 2020.
Well, I got to give a big thanks to Boondocks Repair. Without them, no trailer, no shop to work on things. So I have to thank Andy and Boondocks Repair. Bauer Built Tire and Service. Not officially on board this year, but they have been the last few years, and it just didn't feel right not throwing them on the cars. Epic Media for getting the vinyls done. I get a hold of Drew 2 days before a race, say, hey, Drew, I need new vinyls, and they're ready by race day. So a huge thanks to him to always getting it done.
You know, something I just noticed, folks, as we do the show here, because there's a lot of people that watch this all 10 years in a row. Paul's actually wearing his shirt from last year that says Tiny, and he is.
Whatever.
Billy Doc Niles now has a permanent elbow rest every time we do the program, ladies and gentlemen. We got to thank everybody from No Limitz Racing. These guys are comical. Wendy Leach joining us as well. This has been one of the most fun race teams that we've had at the Speedway in quite some time, Bill, because why? They own what they do.
They own the 6 cylinders. They police themselves pretty much, and they have fun, and that's probably one of the most important things. If you're not having fun racing, you shouldn't be doing it.
Quick shout out to our sponsors, Billy Doc.
Of course, Big Boar Barbecue, title sponsor. Carry Heating and Air Conditioning. It's hot out. Get that AC checked out. Fansarena.com, JNL Collectibles, and NorthstarCustoms.com. Thank you all for being partners in 2020.
And we're going to try to get a booster seat for Paul next week, like the JCPenney catalogs. My grandma used to make me sit on back in the day. That's going to do it for the program. More racing coming up here over the next couple of weeks. Got some big races coming up both at Tomah and in Crosse Speedway. Will be joining us for that right here on 7 Rivers Racing.
You've been watching 7 Rivers Racing on KQEG TV with Dan the Voice Diker, Billy Doc Niles, and Paul the Statman Riker. Brought to you by Big Boar Barbecue, Highway 16 West Salem, in La Crosse on 3rd Street downtown and George and Gillette Street. Big Boar Barbecue, now that's a mouthful. By Carey Heating and Air Conditioning, your residential specialist, serving the La Crosse area since 1929. Carey Heating and Air Conditioning. Thanks for watching 7 Rivers Racing on KQEG TV.